I think the Patrick Swayze number has become such a standard that at one point at your house, you and I and like several of your friends joined us in singing it.
Yeah.
As I requested it as the carol we sing.
This time we watch Season 3, Episode 21, Santa Claus Conquers the Martians.
And in doing so, conquered all of our hearts. What's this?
What the hell is that?
Oh no. I hope this isn't that fisherman I ran over last summer.
In life, I was your co-host.
Count Chocula? I knew it. I've always yearned for, but I thought those were just dreams I had where he and Booberry and I hosted a talk show.
No! It's Beth! The other one! That's not Chris!
Ah, yes. I could tell, though the voices are similar. Somehow I'm able to piece that together. How are you, Beth, from what I assume is beyond the grave?
I am doomed to wander this earth with this chain I have forged myself in life. This chain of obligation.
Oh, like Mr. T.
They're called your children, okay? They're not chains of obligation.
Zygote by Zygote.
I think that's also the name of your easy listening album.
I come to warn you, Adam.
Oh, no.
Don't overcommit.
Oh, no. I'm afraid it's too late for that. It's long too late for that.
Take some time this holiday for yourself.
Well, I suppose I can let the cat out of the bag as we are recording this and the next two episodes well in advance so that I can do just that.
Excellent.
Thank you, Ghost. I would have committed to far more podcasting had it not been for you reminding me to take a much-needed vacation.
Oh, God. Oh, we found some new Foley.
Oh, this is a different ghost now. Now, which one of the Nightmare Before Christmas ghosts are you? Are you the one with the terror-white face?
Maybe.
It's good improv.
Improv is not the spirit's strong suit. I am the ghost of fan expectations.
Oh, okay. Oh, well, I wish you'd come many episodes ago. We've already gotten backlash.
When the hell are you going to do Manos?
Not this Christmas.
Nope.
Okay, then. Bye. All right, guys. Yes. I know you miss my dead-on impressions of spirits and ghosts, but I just wanted to come in and say happy holidays to everyone. Happy Santa Claus, especially. I don't think I talked about this last year, but we didn't think we were going to do Santa Claus in our house. And that went very badly.
Oh, no.
You were overruled by the children?
Sort of. What happened was, I had heard this podcast by Judge John Hodgman where he had said that he regretted doing the Santa in his house because when his children found out, they were devastated. So his conclusion was that it was a lie that served no one. And that really hit me. So I was just like trying to treat Santa Claus like Batman, in that we all love him and think about him often, but we know he's not actually real. He's more of a mythical figure.
Yes.
And it's great to pretend that Batman is real. That culminated in my daughter doing a FaceTime with her cousins, where the first thing she says is, "Do you know that Santa Claus isn't real?"
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did she also have to tell them that Batman isn't real?
That would be far more heartbreaking, I think. Because who's going to prevent Bane from blowing up a fucking sports stadium?
So this year she's in senior kindergarten. She comes home and her head has been filled with Santa Claus from other kids. And so we're just letting her lead us. And so she's been telling us all the things that we need to do for Santa because apparently we're too dumb to know what to do.
So wait, how did she go from Santa not being real to Santa being a thing?
Peer pressure.
Wow, I guess cults really work.
Who are you going to trust? Your parents or the kids on the street?
I think we both know the answer to that. So we're just going along with it. And she's explained to us that we have to leave some milk and cookies out for Santa, and that we have to unblock our fireplace so he can get down. And we're just being led along like the couple of dummies we are.
Now, has she found out yet that Santa Claus has been kidnapped by Martians?
Not yet, but I have been tempted to show her this special because, well, she's willing to watch anything at this age. And
always a good endorsement for the program.
I have to admit, this is not my favorite MST3K Christmas special. That
yes, yours is the Gamera one from KTMA.
It's Santa Claus Does Mexico. That's my favorite.
Gross. I don't want to hear him do Mexico or see him. Revolting.
So perhaps if things are a little bit less in demand next year, we can do that together.
We've already done it.
Did we really do Santa Claus?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh my God. Okay, this is not my fault. Both my short-term and long-term memory are completely shot right now.
Oh, see, I thought you were doing a deliberate callback because you mentioned that same Batman analogy on that episode.
Oh, God.
Also, I'd be remiss in saying it's like, now John Hodgman is not a real judge. That's the name of the program.
Turns out. Well, this is the callback then. It did not go well. It turns out Judge Hodgman might not have been right.
More importantly, Beth, do you consider Santa Claus Conquers the Martian to be a better movie than The Martian?
Without a doubt.
There you go.
Okay.
You heard it here first.
That's good. We've asked that question every episode, just like we promised back in episode 1, but it doesn't always make the edit.
But it's always there, we assure you.
So far, the only movie that was worse than The Martian was Wizards of the Lost Kingdom 2, for those keeping track at home.
All right, well, you guys have fun with this one.
All right, you have a happy Merry.
Yes, enjoy your unspecified holiday fun times.
Bye, guys.
Bye.
Bye.
I like that ASMR bit at the end. That was nice. Hooray for Santa Claus! Yes, after a jaunty opening sequence that has fewer frames of animation than any given 2 minutes of Rocky and Bullwinkle, we're presented with a report from Kid TV, where Santa is being interviewed in the North Pole before the big day. Santa careens around recklessly, giggling like the Native American buddy from Cry Wilderness, and Mrs. Claus has a sexual awakening when she finds out she's on live TV. But we've not any time for an elderly woman getting off on the idea of being watched, because this is a children's movie, for heaven's sake. Cue threatening aliens kidnapping children. Now, our children aren't in that much danger, as Kimar and Voldar and Droppo and Pringles and Dingus and whatever the other Martian characters' names are don't pose much of a threat. They all look like the Great Gazoo, but with the proportions of a slumming actor instead of a malevolent green baby dum-dum. Now, there's colorful action from here to the North Pole to Mars, as Santa is soon abducted along with the children. Santa is a Martian slave and must make toys for Martian children who are drugged out watching dumb Earth programs and have lost the will to live. Allegedly. But Droppo, now putting on a fake Santa beard, proves to be a good enough Santa for Martian children, and so Santa and the kids are returned to Earth safely. And for the rest of time, if children on Earth or Mars didn't get what they asked for, it's because of some personal defect on their part, and they were not good enough all year. The end.
Meanwhile, on the satellite of love, it's Christmas. Crow and Servo are surrounded by holiday catalogs, and they're making their Christmas wish lists. Crow's got on a Rudolph nose, and Servo's head is a charming snow globe in it. Gypsy wants a pony, but we all know that's not going to happen. Crow announces,
I want to decide who lives and who dies.
A quote which he will never, ever live down. But it's Christmas. The Mads invention is the Wish Squisher, a machine that turns a cool slot car into, socks, and then turns those socks into a gift certificate for a stationery store. And I know that I must be old now, because I'd way rather have the cool stationery than the socks, and I'd way rather have the cool socks than a slot car. Ah, well, Joel and the bots invent new things to ship to the island of misfit toys, including a Roadhouse board game. These toys are kind of awful, as they're supposed to be, I guess. Oh, well. In the first intermission, Crow has written a new Christmas song based on his favorite movie, Roadhouse. Let's Have a Patrick Swayze Christmas is, finally, a Christmas song rated PG-13 for mild profanity and violence. During the second intermission, Joel breaks out a bunch of VHS tapes that he tricked Frank into sending up to the SOL. Finally, they have some classic Christmas movies and TV shows to look forward to, and a few unnecessary remakes. The third intermission has everyone reading their Christmas essays, and it's one of the most wholesome and heartwarming skits they ever did. Crow offers a Christmas editorial, wondering why Santa's elves are always making wooden toys that no kid in real life ever seems to get. Tom reads A Child's Christmas in Space, thinking about how Santa couldn't visit him in the cold quiet of space because he and his reindeer wouldn't survive being out in the vacuum. Joel offers his thoughts on Christmas past, namely the 70s office Christmas party, soaked in booze and decorated with sexism. Gypsy brings them back home by opening her mouth to reveal her essay, or rather, a nativity scene. If you force your family to sit through 4 minutes of MST3K this holiday, it should probably be this sketch. After the movie ends, Joel and the Bots are caroling, but putting in silly lyrics. And then they open their stockings. Gypsy gets a framed picture of Richard Basehart, Tom and Crow's stockings are filled with lots of cool toys, and Joel gets a letter. It's sweet. I sure hope we get a sweet letter like that from a listener this Christmas.
So yeah, I think it's safe to say hooray for Santa Claus Conquers the Martians, because this is a terrific episode of MST3K, and indeed my favorite of the Christmas specials.
Definitely mine as well. This is a real treat. Although I did find this time that, I don't want to be a sourpuss, but this time I've watched it so often that I was able to, riff along with some of my favorite lines, but I wasn't really drawn into the episode. I feel like I've watched it too much. Maybe because this is the episode I turn to every Christmas and it's just gotten a little old hat and I should take a few years off. I don't know. But it's still delightful. Like, I still love it. I still absolutely love it, even though this time I watched it, it was like, yeah, I've seen this episode a lot.
I know what you mean. I definitely did that with Pod People and The Brain That Wouldn't Die and Mitchell. Like, I've seen those so many times, I never have to see them again.
Yeah.
I haven't seen this one as much, though. I would occasionally put it on for Christmas, and I still really got a kick out of it because, yeah, I haven't made it my all time Yule time special for every year.
I guess, as I pointed out in my summary, though, the sketches are still just great.
Absolutely. And it has one of my favorite Frank moments, which is when Frank is first loading something into the to the wish squisher. He goes, "The rules change. You start to feel kind of bad." And the line itself is not funny on paper, but Frank's delivery is so funny.
I feel like that's a reference to something, but I don't remember what.
It sounds like it, but God knows, like, in Frank's encyclopedic mind of television from like the 60s onwards, it's definitely like something that got pieced together, I would assume, from two different things. And as such, we might never know. But if somebody knows what the hell that's a reference to, write in. I'd like to know. info@itsjustashow.com.
So the MST3K crew keep coming back to this movie. This has been a movie that both Cinematic Titanic and Riff Tracks have done with entirely new riffs.
Yes, yeah, and I think also Riff Tracks did Santa Claus, like the Mexican Santa Claus they did in season 5 as well, because both those movies are pretty beloved in terms of bad movies. In fact, I would go so far as to say Mexican Santa Claus is not a bad movie. It's doing exactly what it's supposed to do. And it's very, very charming. Now, this movie, it's kind of hard to say because, like, what do you want from a movie called Santa Claus Conquers the Martians? Do you have goofy Martian costumes? Yes. Do you have a less than convincing polar bear? Yes. Do you have perhaps the greatest the greatest robot in a movie, possibly the greatest robot prop not featured in a Conan O'Brien sketch? Yes. So I don't know. Could you call this bad? I don't know. I don't want to watch it on Rift ever again. I used to do that. Space, the Imagination Station, our sci-fi channel here up north, used to air it annually when they were starving for programming. And it can be a bit of a slog to watch on its own, but paired with MST3K, it's great, and it highlights what's already entertaining about the movie.
I feel like this movie is a few more passes editing the script and a significantly better director away from being an actually pretty good movie.
Yeah, it's fun. It's fun. You know what this movie needed, Chris? I think it needed to be made by the person who made Gamera versus Guaraldi.
Sure. Yeah.
Yeah. It needed that, and it also needed to be dubbed by Sandy Frank afterwards, and that would have been perfect.
Okay. You could just watch Gamera versus Giron for your holiday jollies.
Yes, you can. You could, at home, entertain the kids by drawing Santa hats on both Gamera and Guiron. Although where you'd put the hat on Guiron, I'm not sure.
It's a good beginner's After Effects project to Santa up that movie.
Uh-huh.
But yeah, I think it's a shame. Like I kept seeing really enjoyable moments and then thinking, like this movie could have been something. It couldn't have been great, but it could have been way better than it is.
And I'll put it to the kids out there who are much, much older, who are in fact merely kids at heart now, that if you grew up watching Santa Claus Conquers the Martians, you probably have the same affection for it that I have for, say, the deeply terrible Santa Claus the movie from the 80s, in which Dudley Moore is Santa Claus's head elf, and Santa Claus joins forces with an evil businessman played by John Lithgow, who I believe in one scene smokes candy canes.
Wow.
Because he's a big cigar-chomping bad guy. That movie is terrible. It was produced by the Go-Go Boys. It's a canon film, so you know it's good. But I've never rewatched it, but I had it in one of those big clamshell case VHSs, and there was a good time where, like, every year we would watch the Dudley Moore Santa Claus movie. But yeah, I can totally see why, going back to what you were mentioning earlier, why folks keep coming back to it. Have you seen either the Riff Tracks or Cinematic Titanic episodes?
I have seen the Cinematic Titanic episode. I watched it again for this, and it's nice. I mean, it's nice because it's new riffs and because it can get a little bit more, PG. So it's a little darker sometimes, or there's a little naughtier, and it's just fresher. So sometimes the riffs are not the same riffs that I've known and loved for 30 years.
See, I think would probably be the appeal of them redoing things, and certainly with the success that Riff Tracks had with doing Manos. I understand that they re-riffed Manos, and that went fairly well. And I think that's kind of it. It's like for things that you've seen a million times over, like Manos, like Santa Claus Conquers the Martians, and like Santa, the Mexican Santa Claus. Those are three beloved episodes of the old show. So it makes sense to redo them, because it's like you still want to experience it, but they may be in the position that you're in with the Christmas special, where you've seen Santa Claus Conquers the Martians, MST3K style, perhaps a few too many times for it to still be fresh.
And I can also imagine that both Cinematic Titanic and Riff Tracks want to do a Christmas special, and this is one of the easiest ones to get your hands on.
Yes, suck it, Santa Claus versus the Ice Cream Bunny. The movie itself is adorable, but more than that, it is Zadorable, for it has Pia Zadora in it.
Because it has Robert Zdar in it.
Oh man, I wish. There's a star man waiting in the sky.
So Pia Zadora, in the Cinematic Titanic episode, Joel early on says,
I remember it used to be hilarious that Pia Zadora was in this, but I can't remember why.
And I'm with him. I don't care that Pia Zadora is in this, and yet it seemed kind of funny in the 90s.
Well, I mean, a lot of it is that Pia Zadora was a running joke in a lot of shows. Like, I'm sure that name came up on an episode of Duckman as a punchline. I guarantee it. So I would have heard of her 8 Ways from Sunday. Do you remember anything from Pia Zadora's initial attempts at fame as an actress?
I don't. Well, outside of this, no, I don't think I do.
So Pia Zadora, the thing, like how I came to know her, because I'd heard that name as a punchline, I decided to dig in as a youngster, and that's why I first found out about the Golden Globes scandal.
Well, I've heard about this just from doing research for the episode, but yes, why don't you tell us about that?
Yes, so Pia Zadora married a billionaire by the name of Meshulam Rickless. I hope I'm saying that right. By the name of Don Rickles. But what happened was he was about 49, and he met Pia Zadora while she was in her 20s, and they became a power couple. Pia Zadora was a rising star, no doubt coasting on the success of Santa Claus Conquers the Martians. But she was trying to make her way up to being an actress, and she had done a drama called Butterfly. And for whatever reason, as you know, the Golden Globes are the not very special awards that are held by the Hollywood Foreign Press Association.
Right.
And those are usually considered a joke anyway. But for whatever reason, Pia Zadora winning for Butterfly was considered a scandal, leaving many to believe that Rickless bought not only the nomination, but Zadora's eventual win as Best New Star. Now, I haven't seen Butterfly, but I have seen two films in my life. They are Santa Claus Conquers the Martians and a film called The Lonely Lady, which was Zadora's follow-up to Butterfly. And Pia Zadora is pretty terrible. I part of it is the weirdness in that, at the very least, in The Lonely Lady, she is an object of great sexual desire for every man she meets, and it's very weird because Pia Zadora is an adult lady, but she has a child's face like Yeardley Smith, and so it's very it's just odd because still seems like the little kid from Santa Claus Conquers the Martians, and you don't want to see that.
No, not really.
And The Lonely Lady is a hard watch because it promises to tell the seedy real-life story of Hollywood about an aspiring screenwriter who wants to make her dreams come true, but every man that she meets sexually assaults her in some way. And it's rough going because, especially now, because it seems at first when I first saw it, it just seemed like, a crazy melodrama, but now it just seems too real. It does feature a notorious moment in which a young Ray Liotta, who is far and away the best actor in the movie, goes absolutely batshit crazy and unfortunately molests poor Pia Zadora with a rubber hose. It's pretty grotesque. Now, I understand the other Rickless Zadora scandal, which I did not know about until reading up on it, is that they bought the home of Douglas Fairbanks. And so they had this lovely Hollywood mansion, and of course I'm getting a bit of a Golan and Globus vibe from Rickless, because the first thing that he and Zadora did was that they completely remodeled it and ruined the house. And everybody complained, and it was apparently a gigantic eyesore. And then after a while, Zadora and Rickless ultimately split up. But you know what? Rickless has I think a far greater legacy, because he's the one who bankrolled Glow, the Gorgeous Ladies of Wrestling.
Oh, well, that's reasonable.
Yeah. Say what you will about the original Glow. It was at least the inspiration for the hit scripted series Glow, which I quite enjoyed.
Well, like Joel, I am bored of talking about Pia Zadora. So do you have any more Pia Zadora facts, or can we move on?
She's now apparently making it as kind of like a lounge act in Hollywood, not unlike the lounge act that we saw from Entertainment Tonight clips that Mamie Van Doren was doing. She seems to have a cult following, and she seems to have a pretty good sense of humor about her life. So you know what? Good on you, Pia Zadora.
Okay, we've gotten that business out of the way. Let's talk about Christmas specials, something we haven't brought up at all this episode.
Mm-hmm. Well, now, Chris, you said that this was your go-to, but you, of course, have kind of watched it a few too many times. It's time to take it out of rotation, and it's time to replace it with something. What's on your list of what to watch potentially this Christmas?
That's a good question. I don't actually intentionally put on Christmas specials that often these days. I usually see whatever is on at the family that I'm visiting. So last Christmas...
You gave me your heart. Sorry.
Yes. Last Christmas, there was a lot of Home Alone on the TVs in the background. So that was interesting, because I've actually never watched Home Alone until seeing it in the way that you see movies over the holidays when you're at family, but the movies are shown again and again and again and again, and so they're just constantly on in the background. The movie that was always sort of special for our family, which then became special for everybody, or became omnipresent for everybody, was A Christmas Story, that You're Gonna Shoot Your Eye Out movie.
Of course, with the great Darren McGavin, star of Hangar 18, episode 19 of KTMA.
Yeah, that's what I always thought whenever I watched it with my family.
Naturally.
But yeah, we were watching that a few years before it became something that was on TV all the time. I don't mean to sound special for that. Like I have indie cred. That was my favorite band before you all heard of it. But yes. There you go.
The deeply unhip choice of liking A Christmas Story.
Well, it was kind of hip at the time. Obviously, it was a trendsetter eventually. I don't know.
Well,
It's not terrible.
I see. That's just it. That's one of those ones that I've seen too many times. One of the things I loved about it was Darren McGavin's performance, and his character is so relatable in that all he wants to do is eat Christmas turkey and look at a woman's plastic leg.
Yeah, exactly.
And I was like, name a more relatable character in a movie. You just can't. So I remember having a great fondness for that, and just finding out how weird it was that the guy who directed A Christmas Story, the most beloved traditional Christmas movie, and it's a much easier Christmas movie to go down because it's not sentimental and it's not syrupy. It's just kind of like dryly funny,
Yeah.
and a little bit skeptical of the whole Christmas thing, but not in a mean spirited or cynical way. And I've just seen it too many times, but I do find it delightful for the fact that Bob Clark directed that, but he also directed Black Christmas, the Canadian horror movie about a slasher who kills people on Christmas, including a young Andrea Martin.
All right. Wow. Well, I was going to ask you about that, both in terms of, what movies do you find special, but also if there are any special Canadian or even better special Newfoundland Christmas movies or TV shows.
Well, in terms of, I mean, and I think I've talked about this before, the great Newfoundland tradition was, of course, to talk to the happy tree.
Yes.
Yes. And of course, the happy tree is a remote controlled tree. It's kind of an animatronic thing. It would frequently screw up. Its eyes would go off in different directions, and it always sounded like the local cab dispatch. So it had a thick Newfoundland Bay accent, and there was something as a kid, rather than thinking, and maybe it's because I don't have a pronounced Newfoundland accent, and thus hearing that didn't make me feel more included in anything. That only made it seem more fake to me. It's like, oh, this is just some guy who came from the bar. This isn't a magical tree. A magical tree would have received pronunciation. So that was the main Newfoundland thing. I remember like looking out. One thing I will point out is that on the Newfoundland channel NTV, Newfoundland television, from decades of history, Newfoundland's people, etc., as the song goes, they had their own superhero. Who, of course, didn't have a show. He just showed up in interstitials named Captain Newfoundland. Yes. A.k.a. Captain Atlantis, because in the convoluted mythos of Captain Newfoundland, Captain Atlantis is so called because Newfoundland is the one remaining part of Atlantis that survived.
Makes sense. Checks out.
Which means I'm an Atlantean.
Yes. So was he also Santa Claus or something?
No, but he would fly through various, because they just had footage of a guy in the costume against a green screen. They would put anything over the footage. So there would be like fireworks and wreaths and clips from other movies that NTV never paid for, because NTV basically just stole stuff,
right,
and got away with it for a long time because owning one of the major channels, back when there were only two channels broadcasting in Newfoundland, the other one being a CBC affiliate, a lot of people wanted to sink money and purchase NTV. So the owner, the crazy Jeff Sterling, who came up with a lot of the Captain Newfoundland mythos, whilst on some sort of vision quest, he was just able to get away with this stuff because he could always flirt with the idea of selling the station. So people would kind of allow him to do whatever he wanted. And I guess in a pre-internet age, stealing content for a remote area was kind of a minor offense. But that was the joy, was watching Captain Newfoundland fly over stuff in interstitials while you're watching Christmas specials, while inevitably the radio station would play a Christmas song, and the only Christmas song they ever played in my youth was Paul McCartney's Goddamn Wonderful Christmas Time. The worst Christmas song.
Is the footage of Captain Newfoundland in front of the green screen without anything patched in, is that available?
No. I wish, because that would be so exploitable.
Yeah.
The entire population of Newfoundland would love to, myself included, would love to tinker around with it. But to my knowledge, it's never been made freely available for the peoples. And a damn shame it is too, because that's just rife with material to exploit. Because there's, of course, Captain Newfoundland, Captain Canada, his sidekick. His sidekick was the rest of Canada.
Sure, yeah.
And so some lady called the Golden Dove.
Of course. This all makes sense.
But I had, I had a similar problem as you've had with this special, which is that, there are certain specials that I can't watch anymore because I have seen them too many times. Like, my go-to Christmas for the longest time was the second season episode of Community. I know Beth was a big fan of the show as well. They did a fully stop motion Christmas special in their second year called Abed's Uncontrollable Christmas. And it's a goddamn delight, and it's wonderful, and it's actually got not just good songs but a genuinely moving Christmas song at the very, very end. So it's really quite good. It's a high point of a great series. But I started watching Community as the first season was ending, so I saw it every Christmas, and it's not you, it's me. I would say to the special. It's not that the special is any less good. I watched it every year for like 8 years. I need to stop watching it now. But where do you stand on what I assume is your favorite Christmas thing of all time, second to this Christmas special, which would be the Charlie Brown Christmas? I know you're a big fan of the Nuts.
So the Charlie Brown Christmas special is very good. I have seen it way too many times, but you know what? One of the things that I actually do to celebrate Christmas, especially if we end up getting a tree and decorating it, is not watch the special, but listen to the album, which is, of course, fantastic and never seems to get old or tired for me.
Yeah, that's the weird thing. Like, the Vince Guaraldi music is really timeless. I know I'm not saying anything new there, but it's just great. And it's one of the few bits of Christmas that you never get sick of hearing. Because let me ask you something. Let me quiz you right now, Chris. I want to list some of the better Christmas songs, and I want you to tell me if they've driven you mad or not.
All right.
All I Want for Christmas Is You by Mariah Carey.
I'm a little tired of it, but I was just introduced to a mashup of that where they've stripped the vocals and replaced them perfectly with the vocals from Radiohead's Creep. So that works really well.
I bet it does. You'll have to put a link to that in the show notes. Shoot. I'm sure was it Christmas? Snow's coming down. That one. I've already forgotten the title of that. You know what? It's the film Gremlins opens with it, but it's not an original song. It was not created for the movie Gremlins. Christmas, snow's coming down. Christmas.
Oh, that one.
What is
that called?
I have it, but I'm trying to. There, I'll find it. I'll find it very quickly because I just need to look in my Google Play because that is my default Christmas song.
It's Mariah Carey's "Christmas Baby Please Come Home." Is that it?
It isn't Mariah Carey's, although she did do a cover of it, I'm sure. But yeah, it's Christmas Baby Please Come Home. That's the best one, I think. That's my favorite one. But have you gotten tired of that yet?
No. I mean, I don't want to hear it. Oh, it's Darlene Love. Oh, it's from the Christmas Gift to You, Phil Spector album. That's a pretty good album.
Exactly. It's got the great wall of sound.
Yeah, I will put that on if I'm in the mood for it.
Okay. And what about the very first album by the Jingle Cats? So how's that hold up?
In very small doses and only when I have company over.
Excellent. And finally, I guess the second best Christmas album. What do you think of the Crypt Keepers' We Wish You a Scary Christmas?
Well, I haven't heard that one, but I'm sure we'll have a link in the show notes.
It's got a lot of puns, and it's longer than you think it is.
Hey everybody, it's time for the Shallow 13.
Ho, 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 it's time for the Shallow 13. On the 13th day of Christmas, my true love gave to me 13 facts a-flying about Santa Claus Conquers the Martians. Go, Chris, go!
The executive producer of Santa Claus Conquers the Martians was Joseph E. Levine. Levine was instrumental in bringing several foreign films to the U.S., including both Steve Reeves' Hercules movies, riffed in seasons 4 and 5, and the original Godzilla, albeit in a dubbed version with newly inserted footage of Raymond Burr.
Godzilla is not the only great movie to Levine's credit, as he also had a hand in Mel Brooks' The Producers and Soldier Blue, starring, you guessed it, Donald Pleasence. For more information on Joseph E. Levine's taste in movies, watch Burt I. Gordon's Village of the Giants, riffed in Season 5. He had a hand in that one, too.
Vincent Beck makes his movie debut here as Kemar's right-hand thug, Voldar. Despite putting in one of the least funny performances in this very unfunny film, he would continue to get work as a comic baddie, including on Gilligan's Island and The Monkees. He plays kind of Eastern Europeans in both of those, so if you ever thought the one thing Voldar needed was a sort of Boris Badenoff accent, well, you can probably find those episodes on YouTube.
But who would have guessed that, of all the cast outside of Pia Zadora, it would be Droppo whose acting career would have the highest highs? Did you know he was in Steel Magnolias? It's true. Actor Bill McCutcheon appeared in the comedy drama as Weeza's old flame, Owen Jenkins. But true 90s kids will remember him for his appearances as Uncle Wally in Sesame Street.
Makeup artist George Fiala had previously worked on something far grislier than Droppo just 2 years prior, when he worked on The Brain That Wouldn't Die.
Director of photography David Quaid had a few notable jobs working as a cinematographer and camera operator. Quaid was a second unit camera operator on John Borman's notorious flop, Exorcist II: The Heretic, and provided the crisp cinematography of 1979's Gold of the Amazon Women, starring, you guessed it again, Donald Pleasence.
In the Amazing Colossal Episode Guide, Paul Chaplin notes that Leonard Maltin singled out composer Milton Delugg for special significance, but had no idea who Delugg was or why Maltin cared.
Well, we care, albeit a little. Delugg was an accordionist, arranger, and bandleader, the triple threat, and wrote music for game shows and other TV delights during the 50s and 60s. He was briefly the bandleader for Johnny Carson's Tonight Show, and was the musical director of the Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade until 2013.
Santa Claus Conquers the Martians includes some scenes of plane refueling that are, frankly, too sensuous for any children's movie.
And now for your enjoyment, some suggestive scenes of jets refueling.
Adult listeners with a taste for plane-on-plane action are encouraged to check out The Starfighters from Season 6, which we covered in episode 27.
According to Den of Geek, that stock footage of plane refueling was used in Doctor Strangelove. Now, it's been a while since I've seen Kubrick's film, so I can't confirm this myself, but if you can, reach out to us at info@itsjustashow.com.
In the host segment on Christmas specials, Joel needs to remind Crow that Burl Ives is still alive. Well, sadly, that all changed in 1995. The singer and actor, perhaps now best remembered as the snowman in the Rankin Bass stop-motion Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer, or the narrator of Caravan of Courage, an Ewok Adventure, was also the basis for the Ren and Stimpy character, Stinky Whizzleteets. Whizzleteets would later become the series' Santa stand-in in the series finale, A Scooter for Yaxmas.
Joel sees the kids running around the North Pole and quips,
Ice Station Zebra, the early years.
Ice Station Zebra was a Cold War spy novel that was adapted into a film directed by John Sturges and starred Ernest Borgnine and Patrick McGowan. Now, you might think this is all an excuse to bring up Sturges just to mention that he directed, third time's the charm, Donald Pleasence in The Hallelujah Trail and The Great Escape. And yes, it is.
And, just in case anyone hasn't figured it out yet, Kimar is the King Martian, Lady Momar is the Ma Martian, Bomar is the Boy Martian, and Gurmar is the Girl Martian. Get it? Similarly, Lomas, the flunky, is for lower masculinity, Voldar, the baddie, is the Voldemort archetype, and Droppo, the comic relief who becomes Santa, is the drunken pope.
And that's Time.
Wait a minute, let's have a Patrick Swayze Christmas?
Yeah, based on my favorite movie, Roadhouse.
This series is the question. It's like, are you ready to have a Patrick Swayze Christmas? Because, Chris, you've never seen Roadhouse, have you?
Of course I've seen Roadhouse.
You've seen Roadhouse?
I've watched this movie a million times. Of course I finally broke down and watched Roadhouse.
Now, but how long ago was that?
I first watched Roadhouse, 5 or so years ago, and I watched it again yesterday.
Now, fittingly enough, since we were talking earlier about how there are certain movies, Santa Claus Conquers the Martians among them, that the folks behind MST3K have gone back to, I think it's interesting to note that Roadhouse is one of those movies that has inspired riffs from more than one source. Like, there is an initial riff tracks that I think is just Mike Nelson's solo. It may have just been a commentary on the DVD, I forget. But then there was a group riff tracks with Roadhouse. Kevin Smith, the comedy writer behind the movie Clerks and related movies, he also, I believe, did a commentary from Roadhouse, simply just to gush about what an entertaining movie Roadhouse is. This is one of those beloved kind of cheesy action movies. When you finally sat down and watched it, could you see why?
Well,
Pain don't hurt, Chris. Remember, pain don't hurt.
pain don't hurt is a thing that my father-in-law says a lot. And watching it again this time, I was like, oh, wait, that's where he gets it.
He picked it up from Roadhouse.
Well, unless pain don't hurt is an older expression that Roadhouse uses, but I couldn't find that doing a quick Google. So
Did you ever refer to your mom as his Saturday night thing?
oh God, I hope not. I mean, Roadhouse is nice. I don't know. It sort of falls apart a bit in the third act, but
No.
but it certainly got its charms.
Yeah, Roadhouse to me is a beloved movie because I'd only heard the reputation of it from MST3K was part of it, but like it had been used as a punchline elsewhere. Most Patrick Swayze movies were on the kinds of TV shows that I watched, but I was pleasantly surprised where I honestly couldn't tell. It's like it was a kind of a tricky thing watching Roadhouse because it's very competently made. It's well shot. The cast is all right for the parts that they're playing, but there's this kind of heightened absurdity to the whole thing. And much like the movie Tango and Cash, which is another extremely ridiculous movie from this time period, I honestly don't know how much of it is earnest and how much of it is like, no, we had our tongues in our cheeks for this one. Like, I don't know.
It feels really earnest. I don't know. It also follows this trope of like a bad rich guy who controls a small town. That, you know, we've seen it in certain movies that were on MST3K. Like it's an old trope. But it feels like they're very earnestly trying to say, well, once again, like this guy has to come in and clean up the town. It's not quite Rambo style, but it's kind of close where it's like, you know, one white guy is going to solve this problem.
But what dilutes that a little bit is that this is not a white guy being dropped off in Vietnam or as was the case with Rambo 2, or in the case of Rambo 3, Afghanistan, and solving all the problems of non-white people. This is him going to like a small town full of white people and solving their problem, which seems a little less icky, for lack of better words.
There is still some charm in Patrick Swayze as a Tai Chi master, I guess, who is constantly being made fun of for being not as big as everybody thinks he's going to be. As the person who sort of calmly and clearly is able to take control of these rowdy bar denizens.
Yeah. There's something so charming about the fact that it's funny. You're right. It follows that pattern, similar to those Rambo films I mentioned, where it's like, hey, we'll drop off this reluctant fighter who's found peace within himself. As, of course, in the Rambo sequels, Rambo has come to grips with his PTSD and is following a different path. But of course, both those movies end with him using a bazooka to blow a guy up. And, you know, the whole thing with Patrick Swayze in the film is that he is a Zen bartender. And that he is, you know, deeply in touch with nature, or at least that's how we're supposed to treat him. He's deeply spiritual, but he is constantly like breaking everyone's face. And the movie never positions it where peace is an option. It's always like, no, I don't want to fight you. And then he just kicks the shit out of somebody.
One of the things that I enjoyed about it was that early on in the movie, there's a band that's playing on stage, or, you know, early on when the bar is still nothing but people trying to kill each other, which doesn't seem like a sustainable business practice, but I don't know. But the band, led by Canadian Jeff Healey, so part of our heritage, I guess,
Indeed,
is playing inside a sort of cage to keep them from being hit by the beer bottles. And I was just like, man, back when I had a band, we never got to play inside a cage. That seems way cooler. And by the time that they clean up the joint, it's just gone. And I'm just like, man, no, the cage. Bring back the cage. It's got some character.
And yet, you know, do we get, if I recall correctly, we don't get a steel cage match at any point in the movie.
No, we don't.
What a shame. What a missed opportunity.
It is all about a bar with sort of too much character being turned into a bar with no character at all. And surprisingly long lines, considering it's in a town of 931 people as of the 2010 census.
It's funny. I think it only really caught on because it was one of those movies that was always on if you had the right television station. Like there's that old joke. I believe it's a Dennis Miller joke. It's been a long time since he's written any of those. But HBO used to stand for, hey, Beastmaster's on. And TBS was the, there's no clever acronym for this, but it was the Roadhouse Network.
Right.
TBS was constantly showing Airplane and Roadhouse when I was a kid, so I inevitably caught it that way. And I was delighted. It perhaps doesn't stand out among the many delightfully earnest yet outrageous action films like No Retreat, No Surrender, for instance, from the 80s. It just found that right market when it went to television, and it found the perfect audience because it is basically a slightly bloodier G.I. Joe episode.
Well, I have to say, I've now watched this movie twice after watching the MST3K episode of Santa Claus Conquers the Martians, which of course means that this movie has become a Christmas movie for me, because that's when I watched the episode. So the movie I have never watched is Die Hard, which I know people talk about as a Christmas movie.
Right.
And yet I feel like Roadhouse is my Die Hard.
I've been wondering, what is this strange little creature
I'm
over
Batman.
here?
I thought we talked about Batman last episode.
We did, probably. It's been a long time. But there's so much to cover with Batman, Chris. I mean, as Beth mentioned, we leave cookies out for Batman. we like to fill our stockings with criminals so that he can take them back to Arkham Asylum. But yes, the one thing we didn't talk about is, like, we've talked in various episodes about the original run of Batmania from the 60s.
Yes.
And I think it's safe to say that for you and I, the most beloved era of Batman is indeed Adam West and the 60s series.
Of course.
But you would have also been the right age, as was I, to get swept up in Batmania when basically Batman got a whole new coat of paint on it and was made palatable and exciting for modern audiences in 1989 with the arrival of Tim Burton's Batman. There were singles from Prince that were getting constant rotation on music channels, much music for those of us in Canada, and it was a huge deal. But did you get all wrapped up in Batman for this second go round?
I mean, I watched the movie. I don't think I got all wrapped up in it.
No?
It was fine.
Were you excited about seeing Batman on the big screen as a kid? A brand new Batman. Did that sort of wet your whistle? Did that get you excited? It's like, ooh, a Batman.
Here we play a little game where I try to remember whether I saw it on the big screen or not. I definitely saw either it or Dick Tracy or both on the big screen.
Or Dick
and
Tracy.
I can't remember.
Wow. I think that's a sign of the exactly the kind of market left on you, because Dick Tracy is the most forgettable movie.
Yeah, but it had color.
It did.
I mean, it had a color at least. It was yellow.
Oh, man. Yeah, that's true. Dick Tracy runs around. He looks like April O'Neil from the Ninja Turtles cartoon.
It also had Madonna in it.
Yes. Madonna giving a rare good performance as Breathless Mahoney.
That was fine. I wouldn't go as far as good.
I'm going by my memories of it as a kid, because I have never been even tempted to rewatch Dick Tracy.
No, but I've never been tempted to rewatch Batman either.
See, that's just it. I've gone back and forth because here's the crazy thing. So Batman 89, I saw it in theaters. It was one of the first movies I ever saw, and I found it super boring. And I don't know if I was watching the Adam West Batman or not at that time. I'm not sure if I was aware of it in 1989. I certainly was aware of it after, because I know that it started, like, Batman reruns were definitely in rotation after the movie came out and as the movie was gearing up, because it brought some new life to that syndication package. But I'm not sure if I was aware of it before then. I would have only been 6 or so when Batman came out. And I just remember being bored to tears by Batman, but everybody loved it. And I've decided to rewatch all 4 80s, 90s Batman movies for that second run of Batmania. And I watched it more recently. And now, Chris, this may come to shock you, but the 1989 Batman is terrible. It's weird. If it were possible to for a movie to be good in every respect other than its script and most of its cast,
Right.
it would be great, because it's got probably the most iconic Danny Elfman score of all time. It's a great score. It says something that I think if you ask someone what the Batman theme is, they might go to Elfman's score over the famous 60s Batman theme song because it's that memorable, and it eclipsed the Batman music for a lot of people of the old show.
I don't trust those people.
Oh no, it's a terrific score. I love both, and obviously the original Batman movie is the way better Batman movie. But that's a terrific score. Michael Keaton is great casting as Bruce Wayne and Batman. He's fun, and he's perfect for a darker Batman. Jack Nicholson, who I never really rated that highly, I actually sat down and watched his performance for this recent go round. He's actually perfect. He's a lot of fun as the Joker, and they do some really grotesque things with him that are really appealing. Because the movie still has a sense of humor about itself, but it's also so goofy on its own that it's actually mind-blowing that people considered this the, quote, serious Batman. Because if anything, it's more ridiculous because it's full of ridiculous imagery and things and a totally implausible script, but it's taking itself much more seriously. Which only makes it seem like all the sillier because it doesn't have a sense of humor about itself most of the time. But it's full of great visuals. It's got amazing art direction by Anton Furst. He did the production design, and he designed the way Gotham City was built on the soundstage. And so it's a movie that's gorgeous to look at. It's great to listen to. Some of the performances and some of the moments in the script are genuinely good with what they come up with the characters, and indeed what the actors come up with. Like there's a scene in which Jack Nicholson randomly starts going oop, 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 apparently imitating the noise of something he was hearing, and they left it in the movie because it's such a strange thing. And it's great. And giving Joker this kind of like rictus grin where he can't close his mouth is a really creepy visual. As was Joker putting on flesh-colored, Caucasian-colored makeup to go out in society and try to go unnoticed is such a bizarre visual too. Like, it's got a lot of good stuff, but everything is working in spite of the script. The script is just terrible. Batman murders people all the time. And I think that it might have something to do with an earlier script, because I think that one of the attempts to make a serious Batman before this movie caught on was the idea that it's like, we're making Batman's last case. He's going to retire after this. You make an older Batman. And I think that got scrapped, but the movie's still set up like that because it's all about killing the person who killed his parents, which in the movie universe is the Joker for some reason. And also getting rid of the Joker once and for all. The most iconic Batman villain, like at the end of the first movie, is like a death sentence for, if you're thinking in terms of like franchise. But that is Batman. Now, Chris, did you see Batman Returns 3 years later?
I have seen no later Batman movies except passing by, a TV set that was playing one of them. But no, I did not see Batman Returns. I did not see Batman v Robin. I did not.
That's the court case for who gets custody of Batman and Robin's kids.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, Batman Returns. Here's the thing. So they gave Tim Burton full creative control. And you might think, oh, hey, the last script was a little bit by committee, a little bit formulaic. It borrows so heavily from the Bond formula. Batman feels more like a trained killer, the way that James Bond is, than Batman. So surely, we'll get a more personal vision. Now, here's the thing. I don't know if you've heard, Chris, but Batman Returns is terrible.
Yes.
I've just watched it freshly. It was my favorite of the Batman movies, but I was never that I never loved them. But I enjoyed something that more than the movie, I enjoyed the experience, because when I saw Batman Returns in theaters, and I bet you any money that other listeners will be able to relate to this, is that when I saw the movie on opening weekend, all these kids were there, younger than me, a little bit older than me, just surrounded by kids. Kids wanted to see Batman. And every kid was crying throughout the movie because it was so upsetting. You open with a child being abandoned and thrown into the sewers. There are grisly murders. There's Danny DeVito eating fish, and he bites a guy's nose off at one point. Well, he doesn't bite it completely off, but he gores a guy's nose with his mouth. Oof. It's pretty unpleasant. It is full of grisly imagery. The plot makes no lick of sense, as it starts off about a fishman from the sewers being enlisted by Christopher Walken into running for mayor for some reason. And then that doesn't go well because Batman exposes him as an evil creep. And so you then go, oh, well, perhaps there'll be a one-on-one fight between Batman and Penguin. That's the only way for that plot to go. No, sir. Penguin gets into a big rubber ducky and kidnaps all of Gotham City's firstborn children and plots to murder them.
Oh, boy.
And it's set at Christmas. So this is a Christmas movie.
Oh, okay. Well,
Yeah.
good. We brought it back around.
Yep. And here's the thing. It's a movie that like I have a nostalgic fondness for. It does some weird things. All of the actors are great. Like Danny DeVito's amazing. Michelle Pfeiffer is the perfect Catwoman aside from Eartha Kitt, and of course Lee Merriweather, and of course Julie Newmar. She's fourth place, but that's still a strong four. And it's still got a great Danny Elfman score and great production design. Everything about it, except for the story, is entertaining. But nostalgia glasses off, I think it's kind of a bad movie.
Oh,
So that brings us to Batman Forever.
no, we've got to wrap it up. We'll talk about this stuff next time somebody quotes Batman.
Oh man. Although I will say Roadhouse would have been greatly improved by the inclusion of Danny DeVito.
Sure. So I think we've got time for just one more thing. And I propose that we talk about early on in the movie, there is a reporter from KID TV who is talking to Santa Claus at the North Pole, where it's 91 degrees below zero, which, no, it isn't. You're not outside in that weather. But whatever. Details. And Joel and the Bots compare him to Rip Taylor, who sadly passed away a few months ago in October. Now, you must have fond memories of Rip Taylor.
Do I? Well, I mean, like, listen, I enjoy confetti as much as the next person. But no, the thing that I remember most about Rip Taylor, and probably really the first time I was exposed to actual Rip Taylor, as opposed to, impressions and references to Rip Taylor, is when he shows up in, I believe it's called Chateau 2000, the Kids in the Hall episode.
Oh, yes. Fabulous. Fabulous appearance.
Yes, I think he's Buddy Cole's uncle. But yeah, I mean, but you are far and away the Rip Taylor historian. I'm more of a Rip Torn historian.
Well, this is it. As you may remember, I had difficulty telling Rip Torn and Rip Taylor apart. They sort of formed not like visually, but if one was mentioned, I might have to do a bit of mental arithmetic to remember which was which we were talking about. And Rip Torn also passed away this year, back in July.
Yeah.
So I guess problem solved, although that's not how I wanted it to be solved. I wanted my brain to get better.
You really shouldn't have wished for that on a monkey's paw.
Exactly. But I wanted to mention a little piece of trivia to bring it all around.
Oh.
So one of Rip Taylor's many, many accomplishments was that he hosted a show called the $1.98 Beauty Show.
What?
This was a beauty pageant spoof. It was a game show. It was on in the late 70s. It was a parody of beauty contests. You'd have 6 contestants. Some of them would sometimes be celebrities. Sometimes they'd be unattractive women, I guess. Sometimes they'd be men in drag, competing for the title of the $1.98 Beauty Queen. It was a very silly show, I guess. There's 3 rounds where the contestants are judged by stars, including, the usual Jamie Farr, Rosie Greer, all the people you love the best, the unknown comic. It was a Chuck Barris production, if this isn't clear. And the other thing that means...
Popsicle Twins, all your favorites.
Yeah, exactly. And the other thing that means that it's a Chuck Barris production is that the music and the theme tune was written by...
Milton Delugg.
Milton Delugg. You got it.
What?
Yep. It's Milton Delugg all the way. If you've been affected by the issues on this show, if you've been a very good listener this year, or if you'd like to ask us anything, get in touch with us. Our website is itsjustashow.com, and we're on Twitter at itisjustashow. We'd love to hear from you. This show is made possible by listeners like you, and you can leave us an extra special good present by going to itsjustashow.com/Patreon or patreon.com/itsjustashow. Don't worry, we'll give you some bonus bits in return. And if you want to follow up on anything that was mentioned today, you'll find links in our show notes at itsjustashow.com/episode/61.
But yes, I guess this brings us now. We're out of December, Chris, which you know what that means. What we do every year on this show.
Yes, we need to finish up the third of our Batman trilogy.
Indeed, Batman versus Gamera. It's coming soon.
No, it's going to be Gamuary.
Yay!
We're going to ring in the new year right with KTMA Episode 6, Gamera versus Gauss. Now, there are pills that you can take for Gauss, isn't there? Well, we'll find out next time. And until next time...
Hold the payments. Unless you're a Patreon donor, in which case, keep them coming.
You're the laziest man in podcasting. Take it away, Theme Squad.